Welcome to the Mildred Gaddis Show's Your Money Matters with Mr. Ellis Liddell of ELE Wealth Management.
It is 8:36 in the Motor City, and of course, it's time to talk about the fact that your money matters. Good morning, Mr. Ellis Liddell.
Good morning, Miss Gaddis. I see you got things jumping early this morning.
Yes.
Jump for your love.
You know how people have different ways in which they learn certain things, you know?
Right.
And especially when it comes to love, right?
Correct.
Sometimes your mom sits you down. She'll sit you down and talk about it. Your dad may talk about it. Your buddies may talk about it. I learned about love from Aretha Franklin when my mother was playing her albums. You know, okay. And the song, I'll tell you the song that really made me wonder, what is it?
Uh-huh.
When she did the song, I don't want nobody coming around me and my man, not my mama, not my... I said, dang, this must be some powerful stuff. You don't want your mama driving by your house, okay?
No, nobody coming around.
Okay, not. She said, not when it's me and my man. So...
Yes.
I think there are a lot of other females who learned about love through listening through...
You know what? I think a lot of what we learn by observation. We learn through observing others and how they interact. One of the things I talk to, my kids about is, first of all, you choose who you choose. You choose who you want to love. And that constantly you're being recruited for everything. So you've got to decide how you're going to love and what love looks like. Now, mind you, I've been married more than one time, so I had a chance to educate them about love is not necessarily forever. But nothing is, right?
Nothing in life is.
And you try and make it work for as long as you can. And so for some people, that's 10 years. For some people, that's 10 months. Because one thing about love is a heart thing. There's love with your head and there's love with your heart. And I think it's harder when it's your heart to leave a person who might not be right for you. I remember, I won't get too much into me and I won't get too much into you, but I know that I've had friends who just, everything looked perfect on paper. Mm-hmm. But somebody had a gambling problem or somebody had a drug issue or somebody had something going on that caused the two of them not to be great together long term. So that's important because, I always talk about money. Mm-hmm. And if you're messing with your money... there's two things you were told not to mess with: money and honey.
Right. I was waiting for honey. I was waiting for honey. There's a guy, an author, wrote a book, The Mirage of Marriage. And in that book, Sullivan defined love as when the health, welfare, and being of another person becomes more important to you or as important to you as your own, true love exists.
And you know what? I agree with that. I agree wholeheartedly. Let me just say this here. I've made sure that my exes are still getting along with me. We still talk. We still do things together. We celebrated my daughter's 21st birthday, and everybody, my two exes, came out and joined my current wife. So my thing is that if you fall in love with somebody, love is forever. Now, you may have to put it in a box because it may not be healthy love. And we're getting back to money.
So you put it in a box. So what do you do with that box?
The box is just to protect you. Protect your heart or your mind. Okay. Because some people aren't going to be there for you always.
See, there you go with that Y chromosome. I have always believed that if women handle love and relationships the way we handle business, we'd be better off. You all start with business in the beginning. Now you get all caught up by what you see and what you feel.
And you know what? And that's how you get our attention.
And then you start putting this stuff together. Is this going to make sense for me long term?
Right.
Short term? How much work do I have to do here to get this thing aligned with where I'm going? And we're just, the heart, man, I tell you, the way women,
Right.
we just don't, we just go for broke when it comes to love in the heart. Most times.
Well, the thing is that,
And I don't mean broke financially.
no, I got you. But the thing is, for you all, X chromosome, I'm going to call it X, you're better at figuring out what you want out of a relationship. Guys are slow to figure that out. They start out just liking you, or they like something about you. But they don't necessarily see you as their future wife or their baby mama, They just looking at the right now. But women are better planners. And that's the reason why when a man and a woman come together and they plan together, look out, because things are getting ready to happen. That's where the X and Y chromosome come together and become a beautiful thing.
And we're going to talk about money in a minute, but one of the things I don't think that parents say to their girls enough, and that is, not everybody can go the distance with you. And if you connect with someone who can't and you realize you made a mistake,
Right.
that it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to come back. Sometimes females, they get embarrassed. We get embarrassed. We don't want anybody to feel that we couldn't make it work or whatever. But saying, you know what, this just doesn't work for me.
Listen, when that head spins on a swivel, run, don't walk. Run, don't walk.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about money now that we've defined love.
Yes.
How do you define your financial worth? What's an asset? What's not an asset? What do you include and what don't you include?
Okay. All right. Great question. We call that net worth. How do you determine your net worth? And your net worth is based on your... Now, there are different formulas. So based on what you're trying to achieve, but let's just say just overall you want to know what you're worth. Then you would include your residence, which is the biggest property, biggest ownership that most people have is their house. You look at your bank accounts. You look at your retirement plan. Believe it or not, retirement becomes bigger if you do it right than your home value. Mm-hmm. So you look at all the assets, subtract your liabilities. That's your debt. That's the mortgage on that house. And that's the reason why I try and encourage my clients to pay their house off prior to retirement. Don't take a mortgage into retirement. And people say, well, wait a minute, how do you do that? You should have been saving. If you know for a fact, you're going to work a job in Michigan, you're going to work for 30 years, and when you finish your 30 years, you want to move to Florida, Arizona, Texas, someplace hot, warm. You say that initially, but then when you get there, you realize, whoo, hot is hot.
I know. That's why Florida, no, I'm not interested. I grew up in Mississippi.
I know. You know what hot, that's right.
I don't need it.
You know what 98 feels like.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So once you conclude that, my thing is that if you can go to one of those hot spots, then take the equity from your home that you have here in Michigan, use that to pay off the house you're going to buy eventually. Now, most people buy too much house, just so you'll know. It used to be they didn't buy a big enough house. Now they're buying too much house. If you're going to retire, how many bedrooms do you need in your house? If the kid's going to come once, 3 times a year.
3 times a year.
And that's really a good visit because you should be going to see them at least once or 2 times a year, too, because you want to see how they're living, right?
Right.
You want to know what's going on with them. And the best way to know is to observe when you get inside that house. So you can put them in a nice hotel for 3 times a year. So make sure you're looking out for you and not trying to accommodate children in your 60s and 70s that are not going to be there no more than 2 or 3 times a year.
And let the ego go.
Let the ego go. Let it go. Because this is all about you. So net worth, assets minus liabilities.
And that's your net worth.
Right. At some point, you have to make sure you're paying cash for things. At some point, you should mature to a point where that if you're buying, you shouldn't be charging everything. Don't get me wrong. The credit card companies are trying to encourage you to get points, airline miles, and all that. But just keep in mind, everything comes with a price. And believe it or not, 30 years of interest, even if it's simple interest, really adds up and takes away from your household.
Are we going to see airlines, a couple of airlines fall by the wayside?
You know what? The short answer is yes, and that's going to happen through consolidation. Somebody's going to buy someone. Someone's going to always get in trouble. That's just part of it. But these airlines are now, see, when Congress came out with too big to fail, it made it harder for these smaller airlines. There are no such thing as a smaller airline. Let me just clear that up. They made some of these non-household names not be as prominent, but they still too big to fail. So because of that legislation, they can always get money from the government.
And stay afloat.
And stay afloat. So now they can file bankruptcy, get rid of some of their debt, and still keep operating.
You know, Frontier and Spirit were trying to merge.
They were trying to merge.
And the court, somebody said, a regulatory agency, I'm not sure which one, said no. What happened there?
Well, basically, they felt that they were going to walk away from too many things and that they needed to stay in the footprint they were in. And that's the challenge, is that some airlines are in a certain... All right, keep in mind, airlines and treaties, we don't talk about wars much anymore, but airlines have certain treaties that they're following. So those treaties are worldwide. So there's certain airspace that only Delta has treaties about the rights to. So when you start so it's bigger than just Frontier and Spirit want to come together and form one airline. No. We're talking about treaties, and we're talking about things that have been put in place to protect those airlines. Then we're also talking about the cities they're in. What happens in the hubs that were Spirit hubs and Frontier hubs? They merge together, eliminate some of their hubs. How many jobs go away? So the function of the government is to make sure that everything operates perfectly. And if it's not going to work out for the government in terms of jobs, everything that it takes to move an economy, then you can't merge. They're not going to allow that.
Wow, that's interesting. Thank you for answering that.
Yes, all the dots have to line up. If they don't line up, we can't do it, because you're not gonna let a town go out of business. There's a poultry plant that closed last week, one of the top poultry plants in the country, and they closed because they said it was going to cost too much to retrofit the factory, to make the factory current. So they lost 3,000 jobs, but it's a small town of only like 8,000 people. So 3,000 jobs means that the restaurant's going to close. It's going to close that town down. Mm-hmm. So if it was up to the government, they would have had to just retrofit that factory. The government would have gave them $100 million to not close that factory, but they just didn't want to keep it open.
Wow. How are we doing? And let me tell you what I mean by that question. There's a lot going on in this country. It's specifically politically, a lot of commercials flying. Some of them are factually correct, and some are not. But at the same time, and you shared with us that the interest rate is coming down.
Yes.
It's next
month.
Next month.
Yeah.
And so, how are we doing? With you talked about the credit cards. People have plans. Loans are going to be made. School loans, and the more I hear people talk about that in terms of it's like enormous for people who want to get a quality education. So what do you do? Do you hold? I know you don't fold,
right?
But what do you do right now?
All right, right now you have to. Let me just say this here: we have a list of people that we are waiting for interest rates to go down so we can refinance their mortgages.
Okay.
Now here's what happens: too much in this in our communities. I bought a house recently from a lady, and her interest rate was 7%. I said, did you ever refinance? And she said, no, Mr. Liddell, I bought the house back when interest rates were 7%, and I didn't change. I said, what about when interest rates went all the way down to 2%, 3%? She said, my husband and I never thought about refinancing. So those listeners out there, as rates go down, if it goes down 0.5%, it's worth refinancing.
What if you are a consumer who does not have any debt?
Oh, you're a good person.
And
a consumer with no debt.
You have no debt.
Okay.
And you purchase that home at 7%.
Well, you can't write off the debt anymore.
Not the debt.
Interest. The interest is no longer deductible. You get a standard deduction. The standard deduction for individuals is 12%. I'm sorry, it's $12,000. So you get $12,000, Jonathan get $12,000, I get $12,000. So unless my expenses exceeds $12,000, I have no deductions. And most people don't pay $12,000 in interest.
Wow.
And some people are listening saying, well, what about my property taxes and all that? Oh, the government said, if you make so much money, that doesn't even count. So basically, standard deductions is the new way of doing things. So when you filed your taxes recently, standard deduction pretty much took over.
Oh, boy.
So there's no reason to have credit card debt because there's no reason to. You don't get any benefits.
Okay. All right. I want to invite you all, and this happens every single time. We get off the air. Mr. Liddell is gone. We've moved to another subject, and somebody's on the phone with questions. There are folk on the line with questions about their money. So give us a call at 568-1059, 568-1059 with your money questions during this segment of the show. Stay with us, Detroit. We're going to talk about your money right after this. Mildred Gaddis here. There's a lot of talk these days about community wealth. Community wealth is created by securing assets and ensuring that ownership of those assets is distributed among community members. The focus is on long-term health, economic opportunity, and resiliency. My friends at ELE Wealth Management can get you there. They have the credentials and experience to get you there. It's time to get serious.
I'm Ellis Liddell, president of ELE Wealth Management. Whether it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, estates, or legacy planning, we can help. Let's build wealth together. Give us a call at 248-356-6555. That's 248-356-6555. Or visit us online at elewealth.com. That's elewealth.com. Wealth is our legacy. Pass it on.
Welcome to the Mildred Gaddis Show's Your Money Matters with Mr. Ellis Liddell of ELE Wealth Management.
It is 71 on this Sunday morning here on the Mildred Gaddis Show. And, of course, our focus is the fact that your money matters with Mr. Ellis Liddell, President and CEO of ELE Wealth Management. What's your money question this morning, Roland? You're on the air.
Hi, Grand Rising to both of you.
Hi.
I wanted to share with the financial counselor that I heard an economist years ago say that this country and society we live in the United States is so filthy rich that the money they don't spend at the end of the day, they have to burn it to prepare for the fresh batch the next morning.
All right, Roland.
And I say that to say, they always say Detroit is the most poverty-stricken city in the country. Still, we have resources all around. If you're hungry, if you're clever enough, you can go into Whole Foods and grab you something and put it in your pants. I mean, some societies don't have anything at all around them.
So Roland,
yeah.
you got us going with the Grand Rising. So Grand Rising back at you. Now, Roland, give me a question that I can work with, something I can chew on, not about somebody putting something in their pants. How about something I can chew on?
Okay, the so-called poor people in this city, for instance, supposedly we live in a society where you're either rich or you're poor. The middle class is being eliminated as we speak. You talk a lot about becoming wealthy or managing your wealth. How does a poor person manage the little that they have? By the way, I heard that Section 8 has been frozen all of a sudden. So I don't know what's going to happen to a certain demographic coming up. But how can you help a poor person manage what they have or don't have?
All right, Roland, great thing. I'm going to answer that question. So if you just listen, we will give you an answer. All right, Roland's question is how do you help a poor person, who's not quite middle class, manage their assets? Let me just say this here. If you're not good at managing the little bit that you have, you're not going to be good at managing a lot. I'm just going to say that again. If you can't manage the little bit that you have, you're not going to be good at managing a lot. I learned first how to manage few assets before I gained lots of assets. And trust me, one of the quickest lessons that I learned was all the money you make is not your money to keep. I repeat, all the money you make is not your money to keep. In other words, it's not your money. Some of those monies are set aside for other things in the future. Some are set aside for right now. So everybody, I don't care who you are. None of us in this studio was born with a silver spoon in our mouth. We all had to figure it out. We had to figure out, what are we going to trade initially? So we traded our time for money, So we went to a job and we worked and we made a little money, and we talked to somebody at the job and they said, hey man, I'm going to go over here and do this. I'm going to go over here and do that. Oh, I got a side hustle that's this. I got a side hustle that's that. And we turned the side hustle into a business and made more money. So some people work at a job, say as a food administrator, but they sew on the side. Miss Gaddis has talked about her sewing machine that she had. So that's when you become a tailor. You fit people. You take clothes and you take them in, you let them out. You do things that let them. In other words, you've got to figure out what you're going to do for a living. I was in Orlando, and the limo driver who picked me up, he talked about how he took a class in Jamaica and he learned how to lay tile. But he went from laying tile to now he's in America driving a limo. He had to come up with the money to buy the limo. So we all are going to go through various phases in life. Very few of us are going to have the same job from age 18 until 65. Even if you go to the factory and work from 18 until you get your 30 years and retire, you're going to do something else afterwards. So you have to start out. But the key point I'm making is conversation. You got to talk to somebody about how to go to the next level. You don't just get there. It doesn't just happen. Somebody's going to tell you about a job that's paying a little bit more money, and you just keep moving until you finally find that spot. Miss Gaddis and I didn't start out. She didn't start out on the radio. She had to start out someplace else. Now, mind you, someone said you got a great voice. You ought to be in radio. And then she went and tried that voice out. She took that advice and she did something with that. So we all have to listen to others. Now, I call that angels. God sends angels into all of our lives. Sometimes we listen to them, sometimes we don't.
And when we don't, we find ourselves back at that same place in the same shape that we're in, needing that same advice. You know what I equate it to? All the great ones had coaches or have coaches.
Right.
You know, you've got to find somebody who, I always look for people who are smarter than me. That's, somebody who's done it, somebody who's good at it, somebody who's in that place. And the greatest question I ask is, how do you deal with the hard times and the challenges?
That's a great one. And one of the things I used to ask people is, what books are you reading? Mm-hmm. What are you empowering yourself with? One of the things I asked Coretta Scott King, I had a chance to interview her a few years ago. One of the things I asked Coretta Scott King is, where do you draw your strength from?
And she said
that she goes into her closet basically and she prays.
That's what the scripture calls for, isn't it?
That's right. So she draws her strength from the same place that her husband drew his strength from. But you got to be willing to go there. And a lot of people haven't. Listen, let me tell you something. It costs absolutely nothing to look up at the stars at night, but you'd be surprised how many people haven't looked up in the sky. They just hadn't raised their head to look up. So you'd be surprised. Now, we talk about asking our Father for stuff, but we don't talk about asking our Heavenly Father enough, the power of prayer. Now, you talked about mentors and smart people. We all come from a group where we prayed for what we got. We knew our Father wasn't going to give it to us, not the one in the house.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
We developed a strong faith.
Here's something else. Mm-hmm. We can come up with all of these excuses as to why we don't travel that road or we haven't. But life shows us every day that you can look at people who are disciplined, who are spiritual, and who apply those spiritual principles to their lives.
Yes.
And you can tell them. I mean, you can look at how successful, how disciplined, and all of that. And that's the ticket.
Yeah, one of my friends said this to me. He said, man, it's easy for you to believe in God. I said, why you say that? He said, God loves you. I said, he don't love you? and let me just say this here. I know in my circle, everybody has circles. I know in my circle that there are very few people. I remember I used to pray I used to thank God for my lunch. You know, let's do prayer before we eat, right? Let's do grace. Mm-hmm. So I know that I probably prayed more than most people that I know because I know how hard it was for me to have the little stuff that I do have. Mm-hmm. And I just believe in the power of prayer. Now, does it mean I get everything that I pray for? Not everything, but guess what? I didn't get everything. I said God has a sense of humor. I have 2 lives. I've lived that life that I had the first 40 years, and now I'm working on the second 40 years. The first 40 years was tough. I was praying, and no manna was coming from heaven. Manna from heaven.
You know what? I want to encourage the listeners and LaBelle, Tina, and Tanya. We're going to take your calls. Garth Brooks. Now, you all know I'm a country music fan. I love the lyrics, just a lot of it. And I love the stories that are told. You hear great stories. You Must Treat Yourself to Unanswered Prayers by Garth Brooks.
Yes.
Okay? Sometimes we pray for things we don't need, that we should not have, that it's not in our best interest to have those things. But at that moment, we can't see it.
Yeah, I used to pray for my good job at the bank. I used to pray, say, Lord, let me keep this good job at the bank. But God had he had something better for Ellis Liddell later on that created jobs for 30 other people. Had I stayed at the bank, I wasn't going to create those jobs.
Yeah,
thank God for unanswered prayers, Garth Brooks said. Unanswered prayers.
You look back and some stuff you thought you just couldn't live without that you had to have. And later on, God shows you that wasn't for you in the first place. LaBelle, thanks for calling the show. You're on the air. What's your question or comment, please?
First of all, good morning. I am also somebody God favors, and I'm excited about it.
Great.
But my question is, I have a house that free and clear, I just pay property taxes on it. And I was wondering, like, when the interest rates get lower, if it was something that I should do in regards to, like, drawing money off of it, or if there's any money into it. I didn't have to work hard for it. My parents was going to move it through, like, property taxes, and ended up signing it over to me. I paid the back taxes off, so now it's mine. So I don't know. Like, my question I always battle with is, should I get a new home? Or should, do I draw money out of it, or how does that work?
Okay. You could take equity out the house to use that towards a new home, and you can rent that house out. So you don't have to sell that house. You can continue, that blessing can keep going, right? But do you really, do you really want a new house? Do you really want a new home?
I can't say that I do. I actually like my house. I like my neighbors. It's not a bad house. And I have 5 children, 4 of which are grown now, so I don't see a need to get in a bigger house because I only have 1 minor at this point.
Yeah, then I would suggest you avoid the debt trap. Don't borrow against that house and get in debt. Just, hey, listen, you're living free. Do you know how many people wished all they were paying were property taxes? Now, that's all Miss Gaddis and I are paying right now. She paid her house off a few years ago. I paid my house off. So we're living like you right now, and I tell you, it's a great place to be, free.
I appreciate it.
I never forget, Mr. Liddell called me one day and he said, because my friend, I have another friend who, I forgot what that program was some years ago through ELE, and she was mortgage free. I was so jealous. I will admit it. I will admit it. And at that time, I think my mortgage may have been too new or whatever, so I couldn't benefit from that. But anyway, he said, you've been talking about you want to live mortgage free. He said, look, you are, now I'm going to admit, I'm one of those people who get my statements and I need some explaining. Somebody needs to explain some stuff to me, right? So he said to me, you've got X number of dollars over here via your investments. You can pay your home off and not have to pay taxes on the money I said, what? It provides a freedom, Lord.
Yeah. And it frees you up to invest. Listen, take the mortgage payment and keep paying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you can do it. In your case, it just lets you do other things. And it's just more, let me just say this here. There are more important things in life than having a new house, because a new house means new furniture. A new house means new everything. Got a new landscape, got new this, new that. So the current house that you're in, you're familiar with that house. Let me tell you something. You can be in sync with your home, right? When it has a problem, something just tells you to go in there and look in that closet, and you look the closet up and there's a little drip. And you catch the drip before it becomes a major roof repair. So you know that house. And it's nothing to beat knowing what you are in. So trust me, that's the best place for you to be.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
both.
Tina, it's your time to talk on the Mildred Gaddis Show. What's on your mind this morning?
Well, top of the morning to both of you. Thank you for being on the air today. I have 2 points, and I'm going to get right off of here. Number one, you were talking about what you go to for your special place. I go to the tree. If you look at a tree, it bears all 4 seasons. And if that tree can do it, I can do it. So that's my go-to point.
I like that, Tina.
My second point is I was going to ask, I know I used to be in banking years ago, and there was a time where you could get a 0.5% rate reduction on your mortgage. Do they still do that nowadays?
Hey, repeat that question again.
It was a one-time rate reduction. I did it myself back in those days, and I told my brother about it, and he did it. But I don't know if they do it now, and it saves you thousands of dollars.
Yeah, you can do it. Yes, you can do the rate reduction. Now, when interest rates go down coming up, it's still a refinance. It's still it's a redo, but they will do it. So they'll do it probably more than once now, because most mortgage providers will do, they change the rules so that you can do it more than once, to answer your question.
Ah, okay, great to know. So I think that's a good one to put out there, because I know I did it just by doing a phone call to my current, well, at that time, that was my current mortgage provider.
Yeah, I
So
did the same thing I'm going to explain it once all right,
I was getting ready to ask you. Thank you so much for checking in, Tina. Tanya, don't hang up. We're going to take your call.
All right. So what happens is interest rates drop, and sometimes you don't have to do a refinance. You just call your mortgage provider and say, hey, interest rates went down. Can you just lower my interest rate? And oftentimes they can just do it without charging you $5,000 or $3,000 of refinance administrative costs. So they can just push a button and make it happen. And that's what she's talking about. I've done that before also. I did it before I paid the house off. So that is an option.
What's the determinant, if you will?
Well, basically, if the mortgage company just will do it, some will do it, some won't. And they don't have to charge you extra to change your mortgage rate.
Got it.
So just give you a one-time courtesy change.
That's nice to hear. Tanya, what's on your mind, dear?
Good morning. Blessings to you both.
Thank you.
Just to give you a little background, I'm the person who believes in the family and pushing for entrepreneurship. And my passion is to be of service, which I've done since 2014 with the homeless and the seniors. So last year I established a trucking company for my sons. And this is in reference to your refinancing that's coming up. So I purchased, actually, he and myself, new pickup trucks in November. So you could imagine what that is costing me. So in reference to refinancing for vehicles, is it the same as like with homes when this is coming up, that I should reach out and wait for refinance?
Okay, it is very similar. So in your case, you're talking about commercial vehicles, or did you buy it as an individual, or you bought those vehicles as commercial?
I bought mine commercial, which I couldn't do his the same because I have the company and our names until he paid me back. So it's not just 100% mine. But they're actually heavy-duty pickup trucks that he's pulling a lot of weight with.
Like the F-250s?
F-350 diesels.
The 350, you got the big boy.
Not big enough, believe it or not. We need more. But anyway, yes.
But to answer your question, you can call them and ask for a courtesy refi if they'll change the rate for you. They may say no. You may have to go to a credit union or somebody else to have it done, but it is possible. Once rates drop, you should definitely shop rates, because for you, that's a partner. That's an expense. Finances, investing is an expense. Our next seminar is going to talk about investing, and we're talking about investing in like what you did. If there's community investing into like your business, your concept. You're going to pay the same interest rate to somebody. Wouldn't it be nice if you're just paying it to yourself or paying it to somebody else in your neighbors or your community to be able to come together as a group and do financing. It's the same concept that we do when we go to the credit union and borrow. The credit union is based on community groups, right?
Okay.
So your job is to shop around for a better rate, whether it's through a community, through a credit union, or whether it's through a different bank than the one you already have. You're just looking for who has the best rate. And sometimes you can actually Google who has the best financing rate for cars or trucks or light commercial vehicles. And something will pop up saying they're competing for your business.
Okay, thank you for that. And the last thing, so I do have a lot of things like my food truck business. I paid for my food truck cash, so that's free of debt. I have my home, which has been paid off for a long time. Would you not recommend me using that, considering vehicles lose, value much faster than homes and other stuff, or just try to refi?
All right. This question, I'm going to answer this for you, but this is not for everybody listening, okay?
Okay. Okay.
All right. You are definitely an entrepreneur. And congratulations on being an entrepreneur, because you're creating a job for yourself and for others. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, because you're an entrepreneur, I might be able to tell you that you can pull money out. But my thing is, I don't believe in borrowing against my assets. I believe in finding other sources of money. So I would encourage you to call the office.
I was getting ready to say.
Yeah. Because it's not so general for you. You're more specific. You're more advanced than most people listening. And I just want to make sure that we don't confuse somebody.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me you have the number?
I'm ready. No, I'll write it down right now.
248 356
Okay.
6555.
356-6555. Area code 248.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I didn't
Thank
give
you
that.
so very much.
I'm sorry. All right. I wanted to say, as she was talking in the beginning, I said, now, wait a minute. You're financing your son's business.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he pays you off, it's his.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm loving that. All right. Thank you so much for calling. We
Thank you.
Okay. This has been so exciting. We've gone 20 minutes past our time. Before we let Mr. Ellis Liddell go, Mr. Liddell, I asked you initially, we started out talking about your net worth. Why is it that your home is such an integral part?
All right. The reason for it, no matter what community you live in, your home value has probably doubled since you bought it 20 years ago, for those who bought it 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. And based on your timing, it becomes your biggest asset. I know the house I bought in Birmingham has doubled in value. I know the house I bought in Detroit has tripled in value. And the houses that I bought in 2009, after 2009, those houses have quadrupled in value. It's just kind of crazy. And people say, well, wait a minute, Mr. Liddell, I thought you was an investment guy doing securities. I am, but I accidentally have a lot of real estate. Yep, not on purpose. It was just accidental. But that's what happens when you're doing good for people. Good things come your way. So just remember that, everyone listening, do good for others and good things will come your way.
And the seminar is
the last Thursday. Yep, the last Thursday in this month.
And folks, you can go to elewealth.com and register for the seminar. There is no cost, and we have a great time and learn some really valuable information. Thank you so much, sir.
All right,
It's
we're
been
gonna
great
do a webinar, but okay.
You know what? You know, Mr. Liddell and a few other folk and Montez Miller, they're trying to pull me into the 21st century. I know, and I'm kicking and screaming coming on. Okay? All right, the webinar, folks. So we want you to register online. Thank you so much, Mr. Liddell.
You've been listening to Your Money Matters on the Mildred Gaddis Show with Mr. Ellis Liddell of ELE Wealth Management.